Hello, everyone. We're slowly coming in. I don't know what's going on, but welcome to the show. This is Glenda Dawson, and you are watching Glenda's Dragon's Den. Today, LD is not here. He's on another mission. And, I keep sending him to missions, and he is so good to me. He keeps just accomplishing them. But today we have a special guest. Her name is Aurora. Hi, Aurora. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's great to see you. Great to have you on. So, tell the audience about you.
I wasn't somebody who was interested in the paranormal or UFOs or anything like that most of my life, really. But in 2020, I had a recall, I guess you could call it a flashback of an abduction. And it absolutely terrified me. But from that point on, I really became very interested, almost to the point of obsession, learning about UFOs and ETs and so on. And that's kind of where this part of my journey started. I've always been interested in spirituality and personal growth in that way. But as far as going beyond this planet and UFOs and ETs and so on, that's new. Starting 4 years ago, basically. And, one thing led to another. And I remember it was last summer, I went to a CE5 at a friend's house. And all of a sudden after that, I'm not sure what happened there. We had some sightings and, it was a lot of fun. But when I came back from that, I started to have this urge to draw photos, or not photos, but portraits of ETs. And interestingly enough, before then, I could only draw stick figures. So, I never considered myself much of an artist. I was a math teacher in my past life. So, no, I had no artistic inclination whatsoever. So once I started to draw portraits of ETs, it was like amazing to me how well they came out. And also, while I was drawing them, I started to feel like I was making connections with those beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for the past year, pretty much, that's what I have been doing and enjoying. I mean, there's really nothing else I'd rather do than sit out on my balcony with my plants and my dog and just draw, portraits of ETs and feel connected with them. It's a lot of fun and very rewarding. Very rewarding. Yeah, I
So,
feel like I've come home.
good, good.
Yeah, yeah,
So, you can basically say that your gifts were awakened at your friend's
yeah.
house.
Yep. I would have to say that there were other things that have happened, since 2020. But as far as my artistic inclinations, yeah, those definitely were awakened last year, and they keep getting better. I get better at drawing. I get better at, I guess you could call it channeling,
Mm-hmm.
when I connect with these beings. And at first I was just keeping those pictures, just drawings for myself. And I had one of my guides came to me and pretty much told me that, why don't you get on Facebook and start sharing them with other people? Because it's time to do that. People need to see some of these drawings, and those who resonate with them are going to try to make connections, possibly with the beings that are, portrayed in those drawings. And I had abandoned Facebook a while back, because of all the negativity was around
Mm-hmm.
COVID. I just decided I wasn't going to participate in that. So I was a little reluctant. But then once I started posting these portraits, it was unbelievable the reaction that I was getting. And so, I mean, they look nice. I don't think I'm, a master artist by any means, but I think what's happening is these beings are wanting to introduce themselves to us. They really want to connect with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that they're using those drawings as a conduit to project their own energy into our space. And I think that's how, why people have been responding to them in such a positive way, the way that they have been. And this is just, it keeps going and it keeps going. So I'm going to keep doing it, for, I guess, as long as I enjoy doing it, and there's no sign of that stopping anytime near soon. So
That's good.
yeah, that's
That's
pretty
good.
much how it started.
So now, when you had that moment, that recall moment, and it scared you, did you remember anything specific, or was it just you felt the anxiousness?
No, I actually remember the details. It was really interesting because I was just getting ready to fall asleep. I was in my bed, my husband was already snoring next to me, and I'm trying to fall asleep, and then all of a sudden, it's like my eyes are open. I can see my bedroom, and then this other image came superimposed over what I was seeing in my bedroom. So it was like two transparent things on top of each other simultaneously.
Mm.
So I was still lying down in my bed on my back, but in this other, whatever came over, I wasn't in my bed. Obviously, I was laying on this table. I was paralyzed. I had 3 little grays that weirded me out because I couldn't feel anything from them. They were mechanical or robots of some sort, some kind of biological being that just didn't have, didn't resonate with anything. When somebody comes to you and you talk with that person, you feel that person. I wasn't feeling anything from them, and that really just freaked me out. And they were very concerned with just their tasks. They were very single-minded. One guy was doing something to my arm. There were a couple of others down by my feet. There was one by my abdomen doing something, and I wasn't feeling any pain, but I could feel them touching me while I was in my bed, in my bedroom. So the fourth one was much taller than these guys. These little guys were maybe three feet tall. He was standing over on my right side and leaning over me. And he had this really wide triangular face and these huge black eyes and no expression on his face. But the telepathic messages he was putting out, he was telling me to relax, that they weren't going to hurt me, that I don't have to be scared. I mean, he was really communicating some very supportive and positive emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was looking at his face didn't go with the emotions he was putting out. And I had never experienced anything like that. So I was really, really freaked out. Eventually, what happened was I told him that, now here's the interesting part. I didn't want them to stop. I didn't tell them to stop. What I told them was that I didn't want to know what was happening.
Okay.
They could keep doing what they were doing, because I guess some part of my mind recognized that they weren't hurting me, that it was actually something beneficial that was happening to me.
Right.
But I was too afraid to be there with it. So I told them, I don't want to know what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, I don't want to know about it. So the image that came in started to fade away. And with it, my terror faded away. So before it completely disappeared, I said, well, I guess this is not so bad. So it came back into focus, and so did my fear. So that was it. It's like, you know what? Forget it. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't care what you're doing. I know you're not hurting me, but I can't handle it.
Right.
So that was, I had never experienced anything like that. I don't have any recollection of, beings coming in my bedroom as a child. I mean, I've always been different in the same way that people who, identify as a starseeds, I didn't get along. I always was by myself and so on. So, but I don't actually have any specific memories of other beings visiting me. This was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that happened in 2020. And then after that, I started to get downloads. I had some pretty interesting experiences. Something happened to the energy flow in my body, to my chi, because I got this download, and all of a sudden I was able to start moving small objects without touching them.
Mm.
So, like rolling a straw across the table. I wish I could move furniture, but I'm not.
Dishes so they can wash themselves.
Right. Like Samantha, was it in Bewitched?
Right.
Anyway, so and then after I got that skill, a blue Arcturian being showed up and
Mhm.
trained me on what I now call Arcturian Reiki, because it's all just energy work.
Right. Right.
So, and that went on for a while, and I thought that was my calling,
Mhm.
but it wasn't. I mean, I've learned how to basically heal myself to a certain degree by,
Mhm.
shifting my own energy, and I also, I help my family. My parents are elderly. My mom has chronic pain, and she just loves being pain free for about 2 or 3 days after I'm done working on her. She has a couple of days that are
Mhm.
just fibromyalgia.
Uh,
So
I understand
you
that.
can relate.
I
Yeah, yeah, she's had it for a long
I
time.
have it. So
Oh
yes.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that sort of kind of, fell into the background.
Mhm.
And for a while there, a couple of years, I really didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I knew I was supposed to be doing something, but I didn't know what it was. And, I ran into my friend Kevin Briggs and the exoconscious community, and I joined
Right.
their group, and they were very, very supportive and actually helped me to find my way. It's
Good.
amazing what a supportive group of people can do for you.
Mhm.
And I learned some things from them, and I eventually realized that the group of us were actually in touch with the same council of eight that Kevin had given many interviews about.
Mhm.
And we didn't know each other, hadn't met before, and it turns out that many of us are contacted by the same beings.
Mhm.
So the being that I was contacted by, his name is Ort, and he actually came to me 10 years ago, long before I had any interest in ETs. It was after a car accident. I used to say that that car accident turned my life upside down, but now I've realized that it turned it right side up.
Mhm.
Because, I was um, a triple A personality,
Uh,
I had to do everything by myself. It had to be done a certain way. And I didn't realize how stressed out I was until, I ended up disabled, which
mhm.
is fine, which is fine. Um, so that's pretty much how I came to do this artwork. I really feel, at least for now, that
Mhm.
this is my role, is to sort of act as I guess, as a bridge in a way between these ETs who are wanting to connect with people. And now it's also going the other way. People are asking me, to draw images of their connections. And it's interesting, even people who don't have any connections have approached me and said, can you tell me who my guide is? Can you tell me? It's like, I don't know who your guide is. I'm going to ask. If you have any information that would help me to make my own connection. But um, so, I sit down and I start drawing, and all of a sudden, this being just sort of, I start to feel these beings in my mind. It's not so much that I see them visually that
Mhm.
clearly. I can perceive them in my mind's eye,
Right.
but I mostly draw based on how they feel.
Mhm.
And people seem to be enjoying them, so I'm going to keep doing it because it seems to be working. It really does seem to be
Mhm.
working. And I've had a lot of positive comments from people saying that where they remembered, oh yeah, I remember I'm an avian, or I remember this being when they came when I was little and looks just like that, but the being that you drew, and thank you
Right.
so much. And and it sparks conversation, and it gets people thinking about this. And I think with artwork, and not just artwork, but symbols, they carry messages, they carry information
Mhm.
in a different way than language does. And I think it really um, can activate certain things in our
Mhm.
minds, like light language, and certain symbols will do that.
Right.
So I think, from what I've seen, from what people have been saying, I think that my drawings maybe are doing a little bit of that.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I said, I'll keep doing it as long as there's a need.
Well, and the good part about that is that you're creating a space where people can feel safe to talk about it, because you're
Yeah,
putting it out there, and then it's like, oh yeah, me too, me too. Like they
yeah,
feel okay with talking about it. Not too
Yeah.
many people still want to talk about that. So.
Yeah. In fact, the last portrait that I drew was for somebody that I didn't know. I had never met her. She saw me on an interview on YouTube, and she told me that her contact, Henry was his name, had told her to contact me. Now, interestingly enough, a few weeks before I heard from her, I was out on my balcony doing my own little CE5, and I had connected with a ship of hybrids, and there was a Henry.
Oh.
So that was interesting. A couple of days later, this lady, I had never met before, calls me out of nowhere to draw a picture of her hybrid friend, Henry. So that was kind of an interesting coincidence, which I don't know that it was a coincidence. In any case, I drew that for her, and she was not comfortable coming forward with any of this information. She was hiding it from her family. And I told her, I'm going to post this because other people might benefit. And she said, yeah, go ahead and tag me. I'm going to come forward. You're going to be my coming out. So she did.
Good for her. Good
yeah,
for her.
I thought that was so neat,
And
and
that must feel really good that you are facilitating that.
yeah, that made me really happy. I felt really happy for her. And so we've been keeping in touch, and she's been sharing some of her experience of how she talks to trees, and she's never said that to anybody. So she's beginning to share, some of the things that she's experiencing, and that's good because when we validate them, they'll get stronger, and we will incorporate those, we'll integrate those things in who we are. And
exactly,
that's a very healthy way, I think, to go about it, as opposed to hiding it in shame. That doesn't work.
Yeah. Right. But, unfortunately, we have all been pre-programmed to live in shame, to live in fear, and not to be who we really are.
Yes, we are human beings, but we act like human doings.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, people have to go to work and they have bills to pay and so on, and you don't want to lose your job, so I mean, for example, I'm going by my maiden name on Facebook. Everything that I'm doing that's connected with ETs, I go by my maiden name because my husband works and is nervous actually about somebody he knows, or who knows him, to make this connection with me. And I mean, ultimately, it's pretty easy to figure out what my maiden name is if you really want to, but it's not quite as direct,
right?
But we're trying to, because he's concerned about his job. I mean, he's in a management position,
right?
And he just doesn't want to rattle.
Understandable.
Yeah. So I totally get it. Why people are not quite ready to come forward, but when they do, they're very happy. Yeah.
So I do have some of the pictures that you drew, and I know in particular I would love to hear what each is and how they showed up and all that, if you don't mind.
Sure. Oh yeah, that would be great. That'd be fun.
Here we go.
Oh wow! So this is the second one that I drew. There's this group of beings called the Council of Eight, and this is Dee. She is an Arcturian, and yes, there are Arcturians who are not blue.
Right.
I thought there were only Arcturians who were blue based on my experience, but Dee is not blue. She actually looks very human, and what she wanted me to do, she had specific requests in this picture, and you can see that Arcturus is there right over on her right side, and then the rest of the stars are the constellation Boots. So she really wanted that to be in the picture, even though from our perspective, from her perspective, those stars don't form the same pattern.
Right.
So when I started drawing her, I originally was going to draw her husband, Ort, but she popped in and pretty much just kind of said, Ort can wait his turn. I'm here. I'm available now. So let's do this. And I did. And I drew her. And the best part about, connecting with these beings is they have such a high frequency, and they're very loving. They're very loving. They're very kind. And so spending time in their frequency, with them sharing these emotions is very healing for me. So, I really very, very much enjoy it. And so that's pretty much how Dee came to be. She was very direct. She knew exactly what she wanted, and I made it so. And yeah, I got a lot of compliments on this drawings when I put it up on Facebook. People really, really liked her.
Yes, she does give off that energy, even just the drawing, that it very loving,
Yeah,
very caring, but knows what she wants.
exactly. Yeah,
Knows exactly what she wants. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's good.
She's very pragmatic.
Yes.
Yes. Her husband on the other side, he's a softie.
I
And
think that's it.
yes, that's support. Now, this drawing is actually the second version that I drew. The first one I started and I just couldn't finish it. It just was not working. Or he was like he was hiding. I couldn't see him. He was hiding himself.
Mhm.
And he kept dropping hints that I should watch some videos on YouTube for how to draw a more realistic face. And I didn't want to, partly because, I told myself, well, I don't want to pick up somebody else's style. But ultimately, I really was intimidated. I really didn't think I could draw anything remotely, realistic. But eventually I gave in and I did. And as soon as I did that, when I started drawing him, there he was. He was like right there. And I finished his drawing in a couple hours, where the previous one that I had been struggling with, I was on it for like a week and it was just not working out.
Right.
So, I realized that this is why I love Ort. He's one of my closest guides. It wasn't so much that he had to have an attractive portrait. He wanted to show me that I could do better than I thought I could. And this is the kind of stuff that he does, where it will appear that the purpose of his lesson is something completely different. Like, for example, I was really focused on drawing this portrait. So, he continued to play along with me. And yeah, draw this portrait. You want to do me justice, because I kept telling him that I really want to make you look good and do you justice. And he went along with that. But at the same time, the lesson was that I can step outside of my comfort zone and I won't be disappointed, that I am better than I think I am. And so when I recognized that he was right there, I just busted out crying, because it was, I understood. And when I connect with him telepathically, I like to say telepathically, because it's very emotional. And when I have an epiphany, I can feel him recognizing that I have an epiphany, and he puts out all of this sympathetic joy, because he's so happy for me that I've figured it out, that I've learned my lesson. And it's very moving. I'm very emotional, and just I get the gratitude attacks. Where it's just like, wow, it's unbelievable. I can't believe you're, care that much about me. It's really pretty phenomenal. Yeah,
It is.
it really is. And I have shown this drawings to other people in my notebook when I go to C5s, and I've shown this drawings to other people, and twice so far, people have started crying with joy from looking at this drawing. So there's definitely something to my theory that they're using these portraits to project, their energy into our 3D space, because those people cried out of joy. It was very positive vibrations that they were feeling, and it just moved them to tears. So,
well, and even if they saw them themselves per se, or felt them, you validated that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yep. Yeah.
This one.
Oh, this little guy. His name is Baobab, like the big tree, but he goes by Bab, the shorter part of it.
Right.
Now, this drawing is not, I made it black and white to kind of indicate that it's from the past in a sense. But I did connect with this little guy. He is a hybrid child. He is half human and half gray.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, his proportions are a little bit, distorted. Now, this is a drawing, so obviously he's
Right.
even, more exaggerated than he is in reality. But his vibrations, he feels so unbelievably kind and innocent and sweet and just soft. You just want to kiss him. You want to cuddle
Mm-hmm.
like a puppy. That's what he feels like. He feels like a puppy to me. And he likes to work with plants. He talks to plants, so it's interesting that the name he took was the name of a huge tree. And I asked him,
Mm-hmm.
he's so small. Why did he pick a name for such a big tree? And he said that the baobab tree, the seeds are very, very small. They're very tiny, but they grow into really, really big trees.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his answer for that. And he also, a lot of people responded to him on Facebook, made a lot of comments about him. There were a lot of people who came forward about their own hybrid children,
Mm-hmm.
asking questions about that. So he really facilitated a lot of conversations around the whole idea of the hybridization program
Right.
and what has come out of it ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And how some of these children actually are now here among us. There are some who, now he couldn't be here on the surface because he doesn't look sufficiently human.
Right.
But there are some who can actually pass for human, even though, genetically they're not 100%.
Right.
100% human, and they're here and they come down to the surface every now and again, and ultimately, they want to be among us. They
Mm-hmm.
really want to learn from us and be among us. And um, I've heard some commentary about how they're going to come and take over the planet. It's absolutely not that at all.
They could
This
do
is
that
all
at
about,
any time.
yeah, they,
Come on.
they want to work together with us.
Right.
It's a side by side thing, because
Mm-hmm.
as we're learning from them, they're also learning from us.
Correct.
That's the other thing that I think some people have a misconception about with these ETs. Yes, fifth dimensional, 10th dimensional beings. We have a tendency to think of ourselves as less than.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how these beings want to relate to us. They really want to connect with us at the same level as peers. They
Mm-hmm.
have no intention of rescuing us from ourselves. That it's nothing like that. They're not our parents, they're not our gods. They're all on equal footing, and they really want us to understand that. So those are also some of the messages that I've been getting with these drawings. Is they will make more contact with us when we begin to stand in our own power.
Yes.
There was one experience that I had with Ort, actually, because I was wondering, why can't I see you? And I
Mm-hmm.
remember I've heard this in other places, other people have had this experience where it was a dream. It was a very lucid dream, and I saw him. And as he came closer, his vibration was so strong that it overcame my own vibration, and I lost my identity.
Mm.
The vibration that makes me Aurora was
Mm-hmm.
not strong enough. It's like a tuning fork.
Right.
You tune the fork, and then everything else around it sort of vibrates like that.
Mm-hmm.
Tuning fork takes on that same tone.
Right.
It was like that. I stopped existing. I
Mm.
lost my identity, let's put it that way, because I
Mm.
started to vibrate the way he did. So, and he said, this is why. This is why, before we can really make contact, you guys really need to stand in your own power and integrate a lot of aspects of yourselves, and increase your energy, your
Mm-hmm.
energy level, because it does get depleted.
Mm-hmm.
Things that we do, the things we watch on TV, the things we listen to, there's a lot of stuff in our reality that is energy depleting.
Yes.
So,
Very true.
yeah. So, the meditation, all the healthy things that we can do for ourselves, diet, drinking water, and so on, those are actually really, really important if we want to make contact.
Mm-hmm.
It's important that we maintain our frequency and especially our energy level, so that we can be next to them as equals.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
way it's supposed to be. So
Mm-hmm. No,
yeah.
I just smile every single time I look at that.
I know he's really cute.
It's so cute.
I know, with the way he holds his hands and everything, he's adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an interesting one. This is another being from the Council of Eight. His
Mm-hmm.
name, I mean, her name is Arla, and she
Mm-hmm.
is a tall white. Now, I had a really tough time connecting with her because I had some preconceived ideas about tall whites that were pretty negative,
Mm-hmm.
just based on stuff that I heard. No personal experience, really, just interviews that I had heard.
Right.
I didn't have very many nice things to say about tall whites. And so I sort of generalized, and I really didn't realize how damaging that is to my ability to connect with these beings.
Mm-hmm.
What I ended up doing is I actually printed the portrait that Kevin Briggs had in his book, and I
Mm-hmm.
started tracing it because I couldn't connect with her.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, there she is. And I realized how where I was with my vibration, my mental, what I was thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
it was way too low. Even when I raised my frequency, I still could only get into the lower bands
Right.
of where she was. I mean, once I picked up on her, it was just absolutely amazing. She feels really light and very almost not there. She's
Mm-hmm.
just like a almost like a dream. I can't quite explain it in words. Her hair is transparent,
Mm-hmm.
so that does something, for just feeling like she's really not quite there. And her eyes, um, they're blue. And if you look at them for too long, you just sort of forget who you are. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's very euphoric feeling. At least that's where I was. Now, my friend Kevin Briggs, who knows the Council of Eight,
Right.
told me that she is a bioengineer.
Right.
So what I did is all the little doodles around her, I try to make them look as organic as possible, just to kind of as a message, as tribute to what she does,
Mm-hmm.
what her role is. But this was a very, very interesting experience because, like I said, I recognized how even this, I mean, it's not like I had hatred or anything for tall whites, but I was afraid based on the
Right.
stories that I had heard. And even that little amount of negativity really interfered with my ability to connect with her.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're afraid, it's going to be very difficult to connect with these beings. We might not even be able to connect at all, depending on, how fearful we are.
Exactly.
And the other thing that I've noticed is when we feel afraid,
Mm-hmm.
the negative beings will take advantage of that and they will try to, take over. But the beings who actually care for us, they will pull away.
Mm-hmm.
If they feel our fear, they will pull away just because they don't want to cause us any distress.
Right.
So that was also nice to experience, because until I really had a grasp on her, I could feel this, like, where are you going? Come back. Where are you going? Oh, but I'm kind of scared of you. So she didn't, even though I wanted to connect with her and I asked her to come
Right.
forward and help me, she was not going to do that if I was going to continue to be afraid. She was going to help me, but I had to get over my fear.
Right. And I believe that is one of the problems that humans have,
Yeah,
and that is why we cannot see them or even contact them,
exactly.
because
Exactly.
they could be right in front of you, and until you just go into yourself and remove all that negative
Mm-hmm.
that you have, or at least try,
Yeah,
that's when you will be able to get all these benefits, be able to see them, be
yeah,
able to talk to them, and
yeah.
enjoy the togetherness.
Exactly. Now, the way that I look at it, as far as my own negative tendencies,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's my energy. That's how I perceive it. And so what I try to do is, because I need is all my energy, however form it's in, it's my energy and I want it. I don't want to waste it.
Right.
What I try to do is I think of dissolving it, because lower frequencies, it's heavy. Anger is heavy. Fear, those things are really solid and heavy. So I have a little exercise that I do in my mind, this visualization, and I also meditate, so that helps too,
Right.
where I dissolve it into its neutral state. And once it's neutral, then I can reassemble it in other ways and create something positive about it, maybe a different state of being that's a lot more positive. And that works for me.
Very
And,
good.
I encourage everybody to try to find their own way to change that negative energy into something neutral, at least.
Very
I think
good.
that really, really helps, because you don't want to get rid of your energy.
No, but you want to get rid of the negative.
That particular frequency, yeah. You
Yeah.
definitely don't want the frequency that it's resonating with. That's true. That's very true.
All right, let's see the next one.
Oh, this is Targ. He is another one. He's a gray. He's one of the 2 grays on the Council of 8. And I just finished his portrait. Actually, I had finished his face weeks ago. And I kept waiting for him to tell me about something to put around on the background, because, it just didn't feel finished.
Right.
Now, he is in charge of the security of the Council of 8 and also the security of our quadrant of the galaxy. So that's quite a bit of space. And so I had a hard time connecting with him, but it wasn't because I was afraid, because I have a good relationship with the other gray on the Council of 8. It wasn't fear, but he kept shifting in and out of portals, dimensions. I think because he has such a large area to cover, I don't know that he physically travels to these places. I'm sure he does to some extent, to some of them, but I couldn't get a fix on him because he kept moving around. And so, I was able to get his portrait when I was able to get a hold of him. It wasn't for very long. And then I kept waiting for him to come back to show me what to do with the rest. And all I was able to get from him, and this was very, very faint, it was just the idea of a portal.
Okay.
And that's what this is. The rainbow is a portal was the message. So I drew all the colors of the rainbows all around him. And I tried to make him look like the way that I've been perceiving him this whole time, sort of not really there, kind of in transition, in and out of a portal. So he's right now looking like he's either manifesting or fading away, because his coloring, the white and the gray is like, compared to the rest of the colors behind him, those are so vibrant, you can totally see they're here.
Right.
But he's not really. He's sort of like transparent, translucent, kind of going or coming, or I'm not sure, but he's in transit. So that was the goal for this one. I really, really tried to, illustrate how I felt with my connection with him, because that's how he felt. He was not fully there. And I was actually really proud of myself how I managed to make, if you look at the collar, the top part of his uniform, I actually managed to make that transparent. It was totally by accident, but when I saw it, it's like, whoa, that works. I'm going to keep that. That totally adds to his, translucent feel.
Right.
So that worked out. That worked out.
He is the one that when I do the channeling of the Council of 9, lets me in to talk to the rest.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
So it's just so coincidental, everything. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the confirmation.
Synchronicity.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. That's really, really amazing. I love that.
I know. Me too.
That's cool.
All right. This one.
Oh, yes. She was very unusual. And she also got a lot of attention on Facebook. I honestly didn't think she would, because she looks so different. But this being actually doesn't look the way she does in this picture, but just my own artistic abilities are, they're limited to a point.
Right. Right.
What she actually looks like is she's like a combination of a horseshoe crab and an octopus and a fish, because she moves her body from side to side, not up and down like a dolphin or a mermaid, but from side to
Right.
side. And she's a, I want to say she's a water being, but it's not water what she's in. It's some kind of a liquid that's, can't really quite see through it. Um, she is on a planet. I know she's in the Sirius system. I'm not sure if it's A or B or which one, but she is on a planet. And she lives in this, fluid environment, where it's sort of like a catfish. They sort of float above the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of how they swim around. She was so odd that you know I couldn't. It took all I have just to try for me to make sense of her face. But so I don't know exactly what the rest of her body specifically looks like. I just kind of have this feel that she's sort of long, like like a fish.
Mm-hmm.
But she was amazing. I can't pronounce her name. It's some kind of a sound that, like, if you can picture a sound that a dolphin makes, it's that
Mm-hmm.
same idea, although it's not
Right.
exactly the same thing. And the way they make those sounds is, you see this thing that's over her face. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that's sort of like a shell. There's an empty space behind that, and before her skull, actually, that holds her brain in. So there's space there,
Mm-hmm.
and so they communicate by somehow making sounds that resonate in that space. And so that's for communication. I'm not sure exactly how they do it, but that's how they communicate. And then the tentacles are not hair, and they're not tentacles either. They're actually extensions of her brain. They're very sensitive sensory organs, and
Mm-hmm.
they grow. So she's actually fairly young based on the length that they are, but they will grow in the older beings. They can grow all the way down, past their waist, sort of like really long dreadlocks is what they really end up looking like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way that you can tell how old they are. The purple thing behind her head there, that kind of looks like um, whatchamacallit. I'm having
A shell.
no. What if gills?
Gills.
That's
Okay.
it. It wraps around the back of her head, and it really does look like gills, but they use it for filtering whatever is in their environment. That's how they get their nutrients and
Mm-hmm.
whatever gas they need to survive. I'm not sure how that works. Um, I know that their blood is similar to be like maybe copper based. It's not iron based like ours, but it's not really copper. It's some other kind of metal, but that's the closest thing that I could come to.
Right.
A lot of my description of her, my perception of her, I recognize how limited my experiences are. It's like I kept trying to match what she was showing me with something that I knew, but it didn't quite fit. It
Mm-hmm.
was a close approximation, like I'm saying with her blood. It wasn't iron based; it was copper based, or some other kind of metal. So she was well beyond my frame of reference,
Right.
and it was really neat to feel how curious she was about connecting with me, as curious as I was to find out more about her, because she
Mm-hmm.
really was a magnificent being. She was just as curious to find out about me. So we had this sort of connection that was going back and forth, where normally that doesn't happen with me. Normally I'm just getting information from the being that I'm putting it, drawing the portrait of. But with her, it was a two-way thing, and I could feel her. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to say that she like took over my body, because she didn't, but I could feel what she felt emotionally and on her physical body almost. I mean, she can feel things with the surface of her skin.
Right.
because they live in that liquid environment, similar to how dolphins and, sharks, they
Hmm.
can perceive changes in the electric field in
Right.
the water and so on. So she was quite an experience, I got to say. And I've wanted to go back there and try to get a little bit more information, but I haven't had a chance to yet because I've been busy with other things. There's other beings standing in line.
Yeah.
But
But by the way, what
yeah.
she tells me is Series B.
Oh, thank you. Sirius
Right.
B. Okay. That resonates. That definitely resonates.
She was, when you were talking about A or B, and she's
Yeah.
like, B, tell her B. I'm like, okay, no
Oh,
problem.
that's so cool. I love it. That's so cool. That resonates. But
Okay.
what really surprised me is the comments on Facebook about other people who have encountered beings very similar to her. So that
Mhm.
that was a surprise to me. I really didn't think people would be
Yes,
able
she
to.
is very original from the ones that we have normally talk about.
Yeah,
She's
she's
very
very
different.
different.
Yes,
Yeah, she's really
which
good.
is why she's saying Series B, because all the beings from there are very different than we are used to,
Oh,
or most of the beings.
right, right. Interesting. I like that. No, that really resonates. I like
It's
that. Oh, here we
here's
go.
what.
This is one of my latest ones. This one is Pete, and it's spelled Peet.
Mhm,
And he is actually one of the ant people who the Hopi bring up in their legends.
mhm.
Um, he's actually peeking again, just like Targ. He's peeking through a portal,
Right.
and he didn't stay very long, and he didn't have very much to say. But what he did tell me is that because of all of these strong energies that have been hitting Earth lately,
Mhm,
a lot of portals, new portals, are popping up, in a lot of places. And
mhm,
what his people are concerned about is that they will be discovered before it's time.
mhm,
Um, the fact that we're on the brink of World War III, just about,
mhm, mhm.
has him a little concerned.
Yes,
So,
I can
yeah.
understand that.
So these portals, they're making it easier for us to access some of these other realms,
Right.
especially some of the realms that they're not the only beings who live um, underground, below the
Exactly.
surface. But these guys are really concerned that we're going to come across them before we're ready to.
Mhm,
We need to make some changes in our own consciousness, collective consciousness,
mhm.
before they'll feel safe enough to
Uh,
interact with us. That's pretty much what
un-
it comes down to. So
Understandable.
yeah, so they've moved further underground
Right.
just to kind of try to keep their distance from us while we figure stuff out. Because when we figure stuff out, we have a tendency to get kind of messy,
Yes.
and they just don't want to take part in that. We're going to
Right.
do our thing, and they'll be more than happy to be our friends when we're done.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I can't see
And
that I blame them.
I can understand that
Yeah.
completely.
Now, the symbols that I had on
Mhm,
there, I actually went online to look for some specific Hopi symbols because I
mm,
really want to pay tribute to that history
right.
of theirs. And what was interesting is that I already had in this drawing so many Hopi patterns that they use on their pottery, because that was the book that I
Mhm,
found. There was a book of pottery with their symbols. So that really confirmed for me that I really did connect with this guy, and he did tell me, he brought up the Hopi connection, and so that was confirmation for me that I was on the right track. But he
very
was he
good.
was a sweet little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really was.
And now this one.
Yes, this one. This is Henry that I was telling you the story about at the beginning.
Mhm,
He's the one that I drew for the lady. I never met her. I never spoke with her other than through Messenger.
right.
And yeah, she saw me on YouTube, and she just, I guess Henry told her to give me a call, or not give me a call, but contact me. And the interesting thing that he said to her was that I have the perfect personality to do this sort of thing. And for a while I was wondering what he meant, and I finally asked him.
Mhm,
And as it turns out, you know how a lot of us identify with specific star systems. Like there's a lot of Pleiadians
Right.
or Arcturians or, gray. Some people have, with dual soul connections with
Right.
the gray. Well, what I have found is that I have a little bit of everything. I mean, including reptilian, including insectoid.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, that's why I recognize I am able to connect to so many different types of beings, is because whatever I have makes it so, I can relate. They're
Mm-hmm.
not entirely foreign to me. Their frequency is not entirely foreign. So I think of myself as a mutt. A little bit of Pleiadian, a little bit of Arcturian, some Anunnaki, pinch of reptilian in there. So that's the only explanation that I have for how I'm able to connect with so many different types of beings. And even if you look at the drawings are really different from one
Mm-hmm.
another. So in any case, Henry, I have no idea what the symbology of it is. He asked me to draw mushrooms, so I did. My friend, she told me that she wanted something that would resonate with her specifically from him as
Mm-hmm.
confirmation. And so when I sent her the drawings, she told me that the day before she was on Amazon looking for mushrooms for decorations for her garden.
Wow.
So there's the mushrooms.
Ooh,
Yeah.
chills. Some chills.
The one on the right, that's actually the ship that he's on, and I've seen his ship when I've looked at the sky when I contacted him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's right between Sirius and Orion's belt, and I've seen his ship. I can't talk anymore. I've seen his ship there a couple of times. He blinked at me. I don't see him in the daytime, but I see him at night, especially when I'm out on my balcony doing my C5. So I drew Sirius down there. You could see it right above Earth. And then there's Orion above that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I put in the moon. The face was totally accidental, but I kept it because I figured it looked kind of cool. And on the bottom there, that, he wanted me to write her a message. And so I basically just told him, go for it. And I wrote whatever you see there.
Okay.
He had another I have no idea what it means.
Right.
But I was happy when I wrote it.
It's light language.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No, it is.
What's that?
It is light language.
Yeah. Those were all the things he wanted to include in the drawing that couldn't be included.
Okay.
And the red feather that you see down there, that was actually a compromise that we came to. He wanted me to draw a cardinal, a bird.
Okay.
And I told him, I don't know how to draw a cardinal, and I don't know how to make it fit with this drawing. So he said, okay, then let's put in a red feather. And, that was the last thing that I added. In fact, I had taken the picture of the drawing, and I was getting ready to send it to her. And he's like, no, you got to put in the red feather. I mean, he literally, I could not send it to her. He just didn't want me to. So I just I didn't want to because he didn't want me to. It was really interesting. Right. And once I drew the feather, that was it. It's like, okay, now it's finished. Now it's ready. And I sent it to her, and her response, oh my gosh, she started crying. She was so happy because he looks exactly the way she feels him, is what she told me.
Wow.
Now, to me, he's got kind of a smirk if I look at him real close, but to her, he looks very serious, and that's how she perceives him. He's very direct and to the point, no nonsense kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I did get feedback on is he said his eyebrows don't look the way they do in this picture because he doesn't have any hair. And when I drew his eyebrows and he said that, I said, well, do you want me to erase them? And he said, absolutely not. He wears his eyebrows look like that. So, it's just, he's funny. He had an amazing sense of humor. And when I connect with him and I can feel, like I said, we're communicating telepathically, emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
when he makes a joke, I think it's funny just because it's funny because I'm interpreting it as funny, but I can also feel why he thinks it's funny.
Right.
And so that doubles its funniness in a sense, because I'm seeing it from both perspectives, from both him telling the joke and me hearing it, and it's that much more enjoyable. So he made me laugh a lot.
Good.
He did,
Good.
yeah.
Good.
He really did. So my friend is still trying to figure out all the symbolism in it. She's been letting me know a little bit at a time what she goes
Good.
for. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
So these are wonderful. Just wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Um, the connection that you have with them is really strong. I could feel that in those drawings.
Yeah,
Um,
it's fun.
so we're gonna let people know where they could reach you on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And in this way, there you go. And you can look her up on Facebook. And also, you have a GoFundMe just to
hmm
help you do the things that you like to do so then you can raise your vibration and continue to be able to connect with them at that level.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly. Now, if you seek me out on Facebook, you're going to have to send me a message. I had to make it more difficult for people to friend me because I was getting some interesting characters.
yes,
But
I
if you send me
understand
a
that.
message and you say who you are and you saw me here, it's not a problem. And I'll send you a friend request or whatever.
Right,
The whole thing about the GoFundMe is that I don't charge for my portraits. I don't
right,
want to get into this state of mind of I hope I'm getting people their money's worth,
right.
because that's just not that takes away my creativity and it lowers my frequency. Whenever
Yes.
money is involved, at least as far as I'm concerned, it does that to me. So
Hmm.
the whether or not you want a portrait, you want to make a donation to this GoFundMe thing, it's entirely up to the person. It really doesn't matter. The two are completely disconnected in my mind.
Right, right.
But yeah, there are some things that I'd like to do, and I would love to be able to use the barter system, but it's not always practical. I'm
Right.
getting healings from people, and I'm getting all sorts of other different things that people can share, but not everybody can do that. So
Exactly.
yeah, nobody's in any way obligated to make a donation. I mean, I've gotten
No, no.
donations from people who didn't even ask me for portraits,
Right.
so they're not related in
They're
any.
not related, but it supports your vibrations because if you
Yeah,
everybody go and do something that you would like and see speak to somebody who's watch somebody who's speaking
yeah,
and brings your vibrations up, then that will help
yeah.
you
The
connect easier. So
the whole idea is, I want to create a reality where we are all supportive of one another.
hmm,
And it is profoundly satisfying to be supportive of one another.
yes.
And so that's kind of what I was aiming for with this GoFundMe thing. It's like I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I
Hmm.
I do it. I don't care whether or not I get paid. It doesn't matter.
Right.
That's what I get is much more enjoyable than anything financial. But I also wanted to give people an opportunity to do the same because it feels so good for me
Hmm.
to give something to someone that is going to make them happy.
Right.
That I wanted to extend that opportunity to other people to do the same. I mean, when you receive
Perfect.
something, sometimes you want to do something nice for that other person, something that they need. So that was the whole idea behind that.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you. We've actually come to the end of the show.
That went by
You're going
fast.
you're going to have to come back
I
and
will. I will. Thank you for having me.
thank you. Please hold. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been here. Please again, if you see her on Facebook, contact her and follow her because she's got beautiful things. I only picked a few people, only a few. All right. As always, love you all. Many
Thank you.
blessings.
Thank you.
Mwah. See you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.